I'll have a blue Christmas without you. I'll be so blue just thinking about you.
Hello, Carnies, and welcome to our Christmas episode. Joe, Merry Christmas.
Jacques, happy Life Day. I mean, Merry Christmas.
First of all, before we even get started, I want to say you're welcome, America.
Yes.
Last week, Joe and I broke down on a sideshow our favorite Christmas songs. And I had my Mount Rushmore of Christmas songs, which included Band-Aids, Do They Know It's Christmas? Elvis Is, Blue Christmas. And then I had two other Christmas songs. Do you remember what those Christmas songs were?
Those were Baby, Come Home, It's Christmas. And
U2.
Well, it was covered by U2.
But yeah, the U2's version of it.
Right. And the Linus and Lucy song from the Peanuts.
And so that posted a week ago Thursday.
Yep.
And then just 48 hours later, the Foo Fighters on Saturday Night Live decided to do a medley.
Oh, it's so great.
Of two
songs.
And Joe sends me the link to this because I usually don't watch it. And he sent me the two links. It's like there are thousands and thousands of Christmas songs, and they picked those two
out of the four that were on your Mount Rushmore.
Right. So there's no way the Foo Fighters didn't listen to the show, and then played the YouTube version of Baby It's Christmas. And
they didn't sing, by the way. They played, and they had they had three backup singers sing the lyrics to Baby Come Home. It's Christmas.
So you're welcome,
right.
America. That's my Christmas present to the Foo Fighters. That's their Christmas present to you. That's my Christmas present to the world.
Right, and it opened with a solo version of our intro of Everlong. One of my the best song, and of course I can't think of Everlong now without thinking of the final episode of Late Show with David Letterman.
And again, that whole thing when he comes back from the heart attack.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we don't have to tell that story. But long story short, he said, there's one thing I want to have. This is David Letterman speaking after the heart attack. Somebody asked him, what do you want to have?
Booker.
His producer, his booker says, which act do you want to have on your first show back? And he says, I'd really like to have the Foo Fighters. And they go, okay, we'll give that a try. And they reach out to the Foo Fighters, and they come back to David, and they tell David, you know what? They were on tour in Asia.
Or South America.
South America. And David goes, oh, darn, I really would have liked to have him back. And the booker goes, oh, that's okay. They canceled the tour.
And then, of course, they did. And give yourself a Christmas present. Watch the Foo Fighters playing Everlong on the last episode. And it's like a 6-7 minute version of it.
Yeah, it's so beautiful because it's like it's kind of like I think I texted to Jacques after I saw it. It's the best song in the world being played to the best person's highlights of his life.
Right. I mean, and then they go into just the big rock ending kind of on a loop, and it's just a montage of 20 years of David Letterman awesomeness.
Right. And there is a video out there that points out each and every guest that's in that montage, because it's like a flash every 10 frames. But it's a great thing, but we digress. Christmas.
But anyways, you're welcome for that. So every year, my mom has a huge Christmas party.
Which I attended this year.
You did, and thank you. Is it crazy?
No, it was your mother's crazy.
No, but right, yeah, okay. Couple things.
Granted.
And unless you're there, people, my F&H pals, some of them who have met my mom, Biff and stuff have met my mom, I'm not the loudest person in my family. I'm
the fourth.
If my cousin Debbie is there, depending if how much my brother's drinking, not if my brother's drinking, depends on the mood he's in. But I'm fourth on a good day. Some days, I'm not.
And you were right. I had my decibel meter app out, and you didn't even crack the top 5.
And so this party's been going on since 82, 83, 84, when my mom and Gordon got together and they started having these these big Christmas parties. And my mom always goes over the top. If she thinks 20 people's coming, she cooks for 40. If she thinks 40 people's coming, it's 80. There's usually a Santa visit. Were you there for Santa?
I just missed Santa. Oh, I know. I saw Santa come in, but we had to leave because of the situation.
Because you hate Christmas.
I'm allergic to fun.
Right. And so it is. And there's lots of kids. There's always, and I don't know a good third to half the people there. Now, I'm bringing this up because this year I saw a Christmas miracle. I don't know if it's a Christmas miracle, but I saw a great moment that will go down in history in the Christmas parties of my mom's.
Do tell.
A former pod show guest, Mike.
Sideshow guest.
Sideshow guest, Haji, Sully, Mike. I'm talking with his mom. I'm talking with our good friend Robert's mother-in-law, Arlene, another Sideshow, guest, and a friend of my mom since she was like 4 or 5 years old. And the three of us, the four of us, are sitting by the side of the bar area, and all of a sudden, Mike's mom gets up and she runs 4 or 5 steps away. And the other three of us look at each other like, oh, who came in? And because she went over, and she runs over to Robert's brother-in-law, who is Mike Sullivan's neighbor, one of the kids who grew up right across the street from us, and she pantomimes something to him. He understands what's going on, does the Heimlich maneuver. She was choking.
Oh my God.
Right. She was choking on a shrimp went down the wrong way. Guess that's why you stay away from the giant shrimp. But literally shrimp went down the wrong way. I've never actually seen somebody have to have the Heimlich, performed and stuff like that. And it was like, but we did when she got up and she ran over there, we're like, oh, she must, have seen somebody. And I'll say again, it's like we moved to Wilmington in 1974. There were 4 houses in this little neighborhood. So you're talking, honestly, 40 some years ago. And again, we had Robert on, who's, Amy's husband. We had Mike. That neighborhood was still all together. We went to trivia because Mike did Star Wars trivia last week. Mm-hmm. And one of the kids who lived next door is Mike, the other Mike, showed up there. It was great. I mean, but that was the first time I've seen that happened, and I'm like, Barbara's very Catholic, very religious, and I kept saying, it's a Christmas man, because right after she's okay, green light to start giving her shit about it. like, and the thing is, everybody, and of course, Mike's brother is Jack, who I coach hockey with, like our little 7-year-olds play hockey together. He's like, Eric, I'm not sure, he's like, Eric, her insurance policy's paid up. What are you doing? I mean, all that kind of, just that gallows humor that instantly kicks in. Like, hey, somebody we've loved our entire life almost died in front of us. She's okay. Let the shit begin.
Right. And she deserved it because you can't eat, stupid.
Right, exactly. Chew your food, Pibsy.
Right. Way to eat, Chokey.
What
are you, the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, right.
Who are one of the best teams the first 3 quarters.
Were you chanting 28-3 while she was getting the Heimlich maneuver?
Really was. The funny thing is, I think I said this, I could have done the Heimlich because just the week before, when I went to see my cousin Jimmy's play in New York, we went to the Big Gay ice cream store afterwards. And I call it that because it's named the Big Game Ice Cream Store, and which on the wall was an instruction on the Heimlich.
Right. And you showed me the picture. It was B. Arthur giving the Heimlich to a unicorn. And was the unicorn puking up a rainbow?
It was puking up a rainbow. So that was my Christmas miracle. But so this
beautiful.
Is Christmas Day.
What are you doing here?
I'm your Christmas miracle.
Oh, Santa baby.
Oh man. So Joe and I were like just kicking back ideas. It's like, we're not going to talk any political stuff. It's just all good Christmas stuff. Christmas has always been my favorite holiday. And as a kid, I've loved it. And it's goofy to say what I loved best about it is and seriously, I sound like I'm trying to be a Hallmark card. We had tons of family around. When we lived in Wilmington, we would eat, my mom's sister lived down the street who had 3 kids and her husband, but my grandparents would make the big trek from Everett. 20 minutes, 24 minutes tops if you don't make any of the lights.
Well, and 4 feet of snow.
But it was always Christmas morning. We wake up and there'd be 10, 12 people at the house. And then we would either go to my cousin's house. My mother was one of 6, and like 4 of them lived within a 10-mile radius of each other. And we would be together Christmas Eve, get up, and they'd all be there Christmas morning.
Yeah, that's wonderful. We had a we had a more insular family. Most of my Christmases were spent with my mother's side of the family. We weren't really that geographically close to my father's side of my family. And my father's side of my family, most of them didn't speak English. Well, I take that back. Most of his brothers and sisters who came over from the Azores didn't learn to speak English. My father was, I think, literally the only one of his. He was one of four, and he was the only one to have learned how to speak English, and he was the first one here from the Azores. But so we were never we would never meet up with them on Christmas. We would always meet up with my older sister and my mother's family at their place, and that was just like a triple decker. One family lived on one floor, and then the other two kind of shared.
That's how it always. And these are the same people you spent Thanksgiving with,
right?
Loud smokers,
right? Loud smokers. Close the fucking door. Burned in my memory. I was not on, by the way, on the inside of that door when I was closing it.
So, growing up, I was really close with my cousin Mary. Again, there was my mom was one of six, and she was really close with her two sisters and one of her two brothers. Two of her three brothers she was really close with. One of them kind of black sheep of the family. We'll leave it at that. But his daughters, he had three daughters. So 4 of the 6 children had 3 kids. And so there was very often that be at least 9 of the grandkids around. And one of my cousins, my cousin Mary, her dad and them moved to Detroit, but they would come back almost every Christmas. And there was one, it was great. So, my mom's, married to, my stepdad, and I think his dad was with us, my brother, sister, and I, my uncle, his wife, their 3 kids, and my grandparents at my mom and dad's house. My brother, sister, and I, our bedrooms were down the hallway. Mine was at the end of the hall, and my brother and sister's doors faced each other. And so my grandparents were in one room. There was 4 or 5 people sleeping. Oh, and our friend Ross, and Ross's family would come up from Baltimore. So it was great. We spent 20 years with a family of gnomes, Jewish gnomes. I mean, honestly, mom and dad, Morton Sylvia. And so every time I make a Jewish joke, I'm always using the name Morton Sylvia because it's them and their voices were classic. I think they topped out about 5'11". Yeah, I mean, wow. 4'11", 5. Right. They weren't little people, but they could be mistaken.
They couldn't ride the big rides.
Right, thank you. So we would have a house full of people. And Mary and, we would always sleep in the room. And Mary and I were assholes. We're still assholes.
Right.
One of the best things that we ever did, this is pre-cell phones and stuff like this. So we're talking 84, 83, 84. We tied a rope on my brother's door and my sister's door because they swung in.
Right.
And so we're out having breakfast, and my mom and dad had it was a pretty long house. So we're on the other side of the house, and of course it's breakfast, it's loud, and the 8, 9 people not locked in the room are all having breakfast, and they're all 9, 10 o'clock. Wow, Grammy must really be tired. And finally it was my brother or one of my cousins had to drop them, hang out the second-story window, drop down, walk around, and come up the porch. And there's Mary and I just hey, when did you get here? And then it's and it was one of those things where I think my uncle was pretty pissed and my mom was pretty pissed, but they were also, that's pretty fucking hysterical.
I was waiting for you to say, and then we banged on the door. Fire! Fire!
It was great. Now, of course, my grandmother was mostly deaf, and my grandfather had polio, so he couldn't move around that much. So yes, that's the kind of the other thing that Mary and I used to do all the time. We would always be at my grandmother's house. We stayed there all the time. We would turn the TV down and talk without making any noise and point at the TV and mimic laughing hysterically. And my poor grandmother would turn her hearing aid up. The damn thing's not working! And she would turn it up, and then the phone would ring and it would blow out her eardrum. And she was a tough broad. I mean, literally raised 6 kids by herself in a 2-room apartment. It was fucking tough as nails. She could throw a punch even in her late 70s. The other great thing that Mary and I did one Christmas, middle of the night, now there's 15, 16 people staying at the house. middle of the night, we got up and we changed the name tags on all the presents. I mean, let's say there's 2 to 3 presents per person. We changed tags on over 40 things. So here's my 8-year-old brother opening up a bra. Here's my mom. I mean, and the thing is, like, and again, everybody was kind of pissed at the same time they're laughing. Only Trump by the year that we got up probably like 4 a.m., 4 a.m. Now, how were we able to do this with so many people in the house? The Gillis's drink. I mean, nobody in our family is alcoholic. And they'll
you have to admit it.
And they'll hit you with the bottle they're downing if you say so. So it wasn't like we were quiet doing this. We had a back porch. We moved the entire Christmas tree and all the presents out on the back porch in the middle of the night. So everybody come out, the living room is empty. Like everything under the tree, all the stuff on the mantle, and we rearranged the exact thing exactly the way it was on the back porch.
Pre-punked, ladies and gentlemen. Pre-punked.
But yeah, so I mean, honestly, waking up, and even now, it's like, this is the first Christmas that we're back here with the family. We've never been back here for Christmas.
Yeah, and you have a new home now, so yeah, it must be. It's kind of maybe a little bittersweet for you.
No, it's great. I mean, well, and the fun thing is, where I grew up and we had, Ross's Jewish family come up for Christmas. Management is still really, really close to the family she worked for 20 years ago. And in LA, those kids came out because, they went to public, the public school, but they're Jewish kids. So the parents sent them out there almost every Christmas. So I'm always used to waking up in a house full of people on Christmas. And that is my favorite thing. And again, I know I sound like the big snowflake that I am, but it's absolutely awesome waking up with a ton of people around.
But that's appropriate to be a snowflake on Christmas.
Right.
One day. But so we've touched upon your fantastic memories of Christmas growing up. My Christmas memories were kind of spotty, mostly, again, I wasn't too close with my father's side of the family, and I wasn't too close that much with my mother's side of the family. They were just loud, and I was just like this autistic little, quiet guy who took everything seriously and didn't know how to behave around drunkards and smokers. But we did have fun. I like the ball busting that was partaken in throughout the meals and stuff like that. Now I'm saying that and stuff like that. I don't want you to say and stuff like that, and now I'm starting to say and stuff like that. But maybe we could talk about our favorite or most memorable presents growing up.
I don't know how. Honestly, we grew up. It's one of those things. I sometimes say we didn't have a lot of stuff growing up. Some people would say we were poor. We didn't know. Honestly.
Well, you love to not know.
I love to not know. Somehow, some way, I was 8 or 9, 10, maybe. My sister bought me a bike for Christmas. And so she's less than a year older than me. We're Irish twins. But when I was 10, I was an appropriate 10 for like the late 70s, a 10-year-old unsupervised boy. My sister was 11 going on 25. She was honestly babysitting on a regular basis. I had a newspaper route and stuff like that. And, the money was always like the $10, $12 I made a week was spent before I got it type thing, usually on like subscriptions to Hockey Digest, which was a real magazine. Yep. She saved up and bought me a bike. And to this day, I have no idea. And it wasn't like my mom helped her out. My mom couldn't help her. She bought me a bike, and I will never forget like that. How the fuck did she pull that off?
1 quarter at a time. But
you are an awful human being.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. No, I suck. I'm gonna get 3 lumps of coal up my ass this Christmas.
What about you? You have a great?
The most memorable present. Honestly, I don't know why this sticks out in my mind so much, and it's not really like the best present, but for me, it was. For me, it was a Radio Shack Color Computer 3. It was like this plug and play keyboard / computer where you'd plug it into your TV. It didn't even come with a monitor. Like it wasn't.
I know those. Yeah,
it wasn't IBM compatible. It came with this software called BASIC, where you would have to literally write your own programs if you wanted to have fun. But you also, if you wanted to play games, you could have a disk drive. Didn't have the disk drive, therefore I could not save the data on which but I learned. I used it. It came with a manual, and I learned how to do basic like programming, and I kind of got good at it, And unfortunately, I didn't translate that to other more applicable coding nowadays, like C++ and HTML, all that stuff, the JavaScript, the things that propelled the world into the future. I stopped at basic, but I remember like getting that little present in it, and like it made me more fond of computers and my father was an old school Portuguese guy, but he knew that I was like technically kind of savvy, a nerd, if you will, that he tried to throw me a baseball once, and I ducked.
DSS came in and said, "Why is this lump on your head?"
So yeah, my mother got me a computer one Christmas, and then like 2 years later or 3 years later, I got another similar computer. But that's the present I remember the most. I remember when my sister got a Cabbage Patch Kid. That was a big deal. But this was like 87, so it was like past the 84, height.
The high.
Yeah.
And again, one of the other amazing presents like that changed my life. My brother and sister, 84, 85, got me rollerblades, rollerblades that only had two wheels, like one in the front and one in the back, that you could only get out of again, said like things like Hockey Digest that they had to order. And when I say I was an okay hockey player at that age, I started to get okay. I noticed I'd never said good. I will never say good, but I got 1,000 times better because I lived on those things. I mean, over the next 10 years, I lived at what is the hardest thing about rollerblading at the beach in California wearing a tank top?
Trying to beat off all the guys hitting on you.
Yeah, not the sand. It's telling your parents you're gay.
Right.
Anyways, but but I did. I mean, that was my mode of transportation. Like my senior year of college, like I had to take the train to the Back Bay, and it was about a half a mile rather to. I would get there in seconds because I rollerbladed everywhere. I had two summers I worked at MIT, subletted in Alston, and it was one of the fucking coolest things in the world at like 5:30 in the morning to be able to we lived on a huge hill. You could basically coast the whole way to MIT from Alston.
No helmets, no knee pads, no elbow pads.
No, but I couldn't. I still even when I go public skating, I'm always on the cusp of falling down because I do not know how to skate without holding a glove and a stick. But I would stick handle absolutely everywhere. And it's like, even when I got out to LA in like 95, car died on the way out there. And, I stayed with a buddy. Office was like 6-7 miles away. That's how I got back and forth to work every day. And people were like, "Oh, I can't believe you do that." I'm like, it's awesome. Like I really, really love, and it all because my brother said, and when I first got it, like nobody had seen these things. It was really, really, it was like, I'm not cool enough to be ahead of the curve, but that was probably the gift that had the biggest impact on me.
Were there any gifts that you can remember asking? Well, I guess maybe not because you were poor and didn't know it, but were there any gifts that you kind of asked for or wanted that didn't come your way?
I really don't believe so. Because, I mean, and honestly, even at 7, 8, 9, absolutely anything we got was a shock and a surprise. And, I still have no idea how my mom did it. Like, we would get Bruins tickets. And now, the old garden, had a fourth balcony up in it would always have the 3 balconies everyone knows about. But in the corners, they had one section in each corner with maybe 30 seats. It was like a fourth balcony kind of type thing. And you were right on the air, the ducks, and you could pound the living shit. And those were like $8, but still to get those was, and again, the old garden, like Biff and some of the other people who are listening who've been to some of the older barns, you're looking straight down. You might have been the way they were built with the obstructions and stuff like that. You're 4 levels up, but you are closer to the ice now than you are in some rinks, where it's the bowl shaped things that go back. Yeah. I have no idea how my mom was able to afford those. And again, we're only talking, they were like $8, but every year we got one Bruins ticket. We went to a game and stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe she probably saved for Christmas.
No,
not
mean,
like us millennials now.
She always had, she always had a full-time job and a part-time job, and then around Christmas, like there was a, this is like a pre-Uber type thing, but like they had these like shuttle things from the suburbs to the airport. She would do these. She would work 3 jobs, and that's the God's honest truth. And it's like, so we didn't expect anything, and everything we got was like absolutely jaw-dropping and awesome.
Yeah. So now we're the gift givers of our families.
And I've always loved Christmas, but since having kids, it's 1,000 times better.
Yeah, it's always better to give than to receive.
I wouldn't have believed that before,
Do you perform any Christmas miracles for your kids, or were there past Christmas miracles or surprises that you sprung on them?
I've talked about this before. So, management always wants to go overboard. And I will say again, I've said it in my parenting tips of the week. I wish somebody had told me this like 10 years ago. Don't do shit for your kids till they're old enough to remember it. You spend $2,000 taking them to Disney. They have the most amazing time of their life. You ask them 3 weeks later, wasn't that trip to Disney great? We've never gone to Disney.
Yeah.
And you just want to slap the shit out of them. And it's like, you can't. So you got to hit them with a phone book because it's I mean, right. Anyways, but so one of the, keeping with the pranks thing. So my little guy, he was like, 2, 3 when I started this, and I did it for like 3 years. She'd be buying him 10 things to open. Open gift 1. Oh my God, this is great. Oh yeah, but I want to play with this. Well, here, open this. Oh, this is great. This is great. By the time they get to the 4th one, they so desperately want to play with the 2nd gift or the 3rd gift, and now it's work. And they can only play with 1, 2 toys at a time. And so what I did, it was like the 2nd year, I rounded up a bunch of toys of his about a week before, like his favorite toys, his favorite lightsaber, his favorite Imagine X things. I would put it in a big box and he would pick it up and rattle. And I remember her looking at me like, what did you get him? What did you get him? And the look of his face of absolute joy, ecstatic of seeing the toys that he already had that he loved to play with. And she would get so mad. And the 2nd year I did it, she got really mad. And I still do that kind of stuff. But it is, I mean, it's giving stuff like that is great.
Yep. Yeah, I like giving gifts to my kids, and of course my wife, who I of course bought a present for. And I'm not just lying that I
I'm not running out right after this to the 7-Eleven.
Wow, Mr. Daddy Warbucks over there. 7-Eleven.
Well, I was going to go down to Woolworths.
Right. That's what I was thinking. So, yeah, I guess. What are the other Christmas memories that you can think of?
Well, so like I said, so like, and this is where I sound like such a dick. So we've had all the Christmases in LA, and then last couple years we were like 2 years ago we were in Qatar for Christmas, and that was interesting, and that was really great. And last year we went to Dubai for Christmas because we lived in Qatar. We went to Legoland, but this is the first time since we've had kids, so over 10 years, that I've been back, and I've never been back for Christmas. And it's really funny because my mom's like, oh, they go over to my sister's house every year for like a late breakfast, and then my sister has 2 kids, and they're there for a few hours, and then they go 5 houses over and have dinner at my brother's house. And they're like, oh, what are you guys going to do? It's like, not bad. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's like, okay, so I won't make sure that the little guys listen to this, but unbeknownst to them, and like Joe said, we just got a new house. We have a little shed in the backyard. We put the lawnmower and all that stuff. And the people had, I think it was going to be like a woodworking shop, like a small little hobby shop for like the guy who used to live there that had the beams here, but it was completely unfinished. We just put in a floor. We're making a mini house out of it. So on Christmas morning, the little guys switch, like the new Nintendo Switch, and that little room, and a ladder for like, when I say it's a loft, I mean, the little guy can fit up there and he can sit up in it, but he can't move around or stand up or play. But he lives in a box. Like his favorite.
I sleep in a drawer.
Seriously, he like, if we told him this walk-in closet is your room, he'd be like, oh, I can't afford this.
Well, that's fantastic. I wish I had one of those. Can you build me one?
Well, and the thing is, everybody who knows me knows I truly need to sit down with a manual, not the porn star Emmanuel, or the shortstop for the Cincinnati Cardinals, and for a hammer and nails. How I hit this with this? No. I hit this end I hit. But so it's great because it's me and my dad, doing it together. So it's fun. I'm spending time with him doing it. But it's great that I'm actually doing it. We didn't hire somebody to come in and do it.
Yep.
And it's something. And I keep being out there, it's like my dad and I are working out there like a couple days ago. It's like 20 some degrees. And I'm like, I didn't have a dad when I was 10, let alone, I mean, I can't even imagine digging up my dad and asking, hey, what are the chances of you having me build a little shed so I can come out here and play video games?
Right. Brings a tear to your eye.
But it is that I'm giddy. I'm literally, and the thing is, it's tough because my dad has to come over after I drop them off at school, and then we can only work till I have to go pick them up. So we have these small windows so they have no idea what's going on.
Yep. So while I'm spinning my wheels here, trying to think of things to talk about for Christmas, because, aside from giving and getting presents, that's about the end of it for Christmas for me. I don't have a big family. We don't even know where we're going to be celebrating Christmas this year, whether it's just going to be us four, if we're going to, my niece moved to a new house, we may be going there. But so I'm trying to think of things Christmassy that we could talk about. And I don't know, this is a topic, maybe I'll edit out. It's a little social experiment, maybe. I want to see if you tell me a Christmas moment on television, film that instantly brings a tear to your eye. Like you'll have to step away from the microphone. Like what is that scene? I want to see if I can make you cry. And same with me.
You've already done it when you that speech that George Bailey gives that you did a couple weeks ago, where they're going to close the savings and loan because his dad passed away. And there's Mr. Potter trying to convince the board that it's not necessary. And the fact that he's served his time, that, he's given it all. He sacrificed everything. And this is George's chance to go and see the world. And he gives that impassioned speech about, the little guy and what's wrong with having a roof over your head. It doesn't make him a better people. I'm not going to try to do it, but right. That whole, and just the thing where, and then again, at the end of the movie where he sees that the world is as much as he's in a fucked situation right now and
right.
Fucked and nothing's gone his way. It's better to have gone through what he did. But then when all those people are coming in there and, he gets a telegram from Sam Wainwright,
Right. It's from London. Oh. Right.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
But all the other people just coming in and it's just like, I don't have a house without you. And this isn't a lot, but anything I can do to help. And again, like what's that, 46, 47, 48 that, and no matter how many times I see it, it will always, always, always get me. And
then so in the spirit of Christmas, I'm going to play that. Like there's 4 moments in It's a Wonderful Life that I'm trying to think of. There are literally 4 moments, but there's the one where at the beginning of the movie where it's a teenaged George Bailey and he's working in Mr. Gower's.
Right.
And she leans over and she goes, George Bailey, is this the year you can't hear out of? I'll love you till the day I die. And I'm like,
it does. And while you're talking about that, let's just talk the whole movie. When Mr. Gower gives the wrong medication and yes. George knows, and the thing is, he beats the shit out of him.
Yes.
He doesn't yell at him.
He's drunk.
He doesn't hit him once.
He's grieving and drunk.
He literally, because he just got a telegram that his son died and he's not paying attention and he sends the wrong medicine to the kid's house. The parents call and says, hey, the medicine never showed up. And George is going back there to tell him, hey, I know you're really sad. He beats the fuck out of him.
Yes.
And then as soon as Mr. Gower realizes what he does.
Right. It's like, it's poison. I tell you, it's poison. And then he licks the powder and he starts to go near him again. And then don't hit my sore ear, Mr.
My sore ear.
No, George. And, he closes by saying, I won't tell a soul ever.
I I mean, literally. I mean, since George was like, I mean, he's a working kid, but yeah, when she says that to him, I'm going to love you to the day I die.
Yeah. Then there's the moment when he's on the phone with Sam Wainwright, and he's pitching. You know, he's at Mary's house, and his mother is up there listening on the extension while Sam Wainwright is talking to Mary, and she brings he asks for George to get on the phone, and she
doesn't want to talk to George.
Right, you fool. And then
because Sam Wainwright is in New York and is doing really well.
Right, he's the knight in shining armor that's supposed to be sweeping Mary off her feet. So Sam Wainwright asks Mary and George if they have any money to put into soy for plastics, and he's kind of at the breaking point. Like he's just got fucked out of going back to college, and he's just at odds with himself, George is. And so he drops the phone and he goes, "Now you listen to me. I don't want any plastics, and I don't want any ground floors, and I don't want to get married to anyone ever. You understand me? I want to do what I want to do. And you're, oh, George." And they start kissing and becoming all lovey-dovey. Yeah, right. Yeah, that gets me too. And then, of course, this moment that I'm going to play for us now, and then, I'm probably going to edit my weeping out of this. This is the end sequence when George Bailey finds out that, in fact, it is a wonderful life, and everybody gets their redemption, and then there's a little message from Clarence at the end that touches the heartstrings. Let's have a listen, if I know how to work this. There's the bank examiner. The detective with the summons. Yep. Rips it up. There's Ernie Bishop. The man who sits on his brains. There's Hustis.
Oh, you asshole.
I could. The fool flew all the way up here in a blizzard.
Harry, how about your van for New York?
Oh, I left right in the middle of it. As soon as I got Mary's telegram. Good idea, Ernie. A toast. To my big brother, George, the richest man in town.
And he notices the Tom Sawyer book with the inscription, "Dear George, remember, no man is a failure who has friends. Thanks for the wings, love, Clarence."
What's that?
That's a Christmas present from a very dear friend of mine.
Look, Daddy, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. Attaboy, Clarence.
That pretty much sums up every Christmas. Yeah, Mr. Gower's there.
Is that where your love of the accordion came from?
Yeah, right. He had the accordion on him. But it was funny. The biggest criticism of this movie culturally is that Mr. Potter never gets his comeuppance. And I argue that maybe he did, in a way, get his comeuppance because George Bailey was declared by the town to be the richest man in town.
Right. Savings and loan was still limping by, but it was limping
Building
by.
and loan.
Building and loan. Yeah, no, there was a great Saturday Night Live skit where, like, at the end of this, it's like, "Hey, let's go get Old Man Potter."
The alternate ending,
right?
Yeah, and then Dana Carvey is Jimmy Stewart, and then he approaches what was it, John Lovitz as Mr. Potter, and then he's just like body slamming him, and it's like you can tell it's a dummy that he's just like doing like a full Nelson's on.
Oh, but that's great.
Oh yeah.
But I have this is my first Christmas back. Doing this podcast with you has been nothing but Christmas each and every week, twice a week.
Yes. We're only about 40 minutes into the podcast. We could do, maybe some typical like podcasty things,
Sure.
maybe we should cut to a defunct sponsor. Why not? Let's do that. This is a special Christmas defunct sponsor of the week.
Grab your gift list and hurry into Circuit City's holiday sale. Save on this GE 4-head VCR with on-screen programming, now just $299. And this JVC portable stereo system, now an incredible $48. The holiday sale, going on now at Circuit City. The intelligent choice for Christmas. Ho, ho, ho!
All right.
Now I can pay for that shed.
Yeah.
So let's do some normal stuff. But first, so let's talk a couple video games before we do a review. Are you getting any games?
I'm getting games for Christmas that I can announce here because it's Christmas,
Christmas.
and my kids don't listen and it doesn't matter. By the way, thank you for getting my son for his birthday Splatoon 2.
When I went to pick that up, the guy at GameStop's like, "Oh, you got 2 of these?" Yes, I know I have 2 of them. Because what usually happens, breaking down the fourth wall. And we've talked about before, Joe's oldest son is my kid's piano teacher. So they come over here, they do a piano lesson, and then while Joe and I are down here making you people laugh and dropping some knowledge, they sit up there and play games.
Yep. So you, in your infinite wisdom, decided that, hey, since I'm giving my son a Switch for Christmas, why don't I get him that game that you can play online with my younger son? So you decided to give sort of a preemptive strike. You give him Splatoon 2 for his birthday, which was a couple of weeks ago. And then when you give your son Splatoon 2 for Christmas, it'll all come full circle.
What else? So we got Odyssey, Splatoon 2. This is for Switch. The Dance one.
Just Dance 2017.
They love that stuff. It's a game that my mom is technically getting for them. She's like, "Oh, go get him a game that I can give them," because she hates that they play game. But at least they're dancing and moving.
Right. No, you got it all wrong. At least they're dancing and moving.
Oh man.
But then from when I'm getting my kids is I'm getting my older son Injustice 2 for PS4.
Gods Among Us.
Yes, I think it's good.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, what put me over the top was that the new DLC includes the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is just rad. I'm getting myself, because I'm a greedy little duck, the Wolfenstein 2. It's that that Nazi killing fest. It takes place in the 60s in an alternate universe. It's like kind of like robotic Nazi machinery. Just good old fashioned fun.
Where does it take place? Where does a battle actually take place?
I think it's
Charlottesville.
There is no Charlotte. Pottersville. So don't you think I know where I live? Yeah, we're gonna get a couple of games. What else are we gonna get? Honestly, there's a couple of like DS games I'm getting from my younger son. My older son's not really like asking for a whole lot. He's got a couple of things we were taking care of, but game-wise, I mean, I think look around. I think we're all set.
Right. Well, that's the thing. And my mom's like, "Oh," or management is like, "Well, we got to get him some other stuff." I'm like, "No, he only plays the games on the weekends." So I mean, how long is he going to play Split? I mean, he still lives for Overwatch. I mean, Odyssey is the other game. I mean, Odyssey, he and his brother will play Odyssey every week.
And then it'll run out.
Then they got, but if your little guys online and they're playing Splatoon together or against each other, they just dance. Oh, the other one is like the hockey one, which, yeah, I mean, neither one of my kids really like it, but my niece and nephews love it. And my mom, who takes care of them a couple times a week, cannot believe. She walked in the other day and she's like, "Is this the Bruins?" And she didn't realize for the first couple minutes they were playing a game. She thought it was a highlight thing.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, technology has come so far.
While we're talking about games, I saw Robert at the Christmas party who told me about a place in Rhode Island that I think would be road tripping to called Free Play.
Okay.
It's a new bar restaurant, like basically
arcade.
Yeah, $10 to get in.
But it's all free play.
Everything free play.
That's great.
I mean, they make their money on the booze and food and stuff like that. But and he showed me the list of games. I mean, they have like over 100 games.
Fantastic. Yeah, I can't wait to go there and live there. See, they have a place for rent. So
today is Christmas, which means yesterday the Patriots beat the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, yeah. What is your lock of last week? Or are we building up to
my
that?
lock of last week will be 31-14 Patriots. There's some hard feelings going on over at One Patriot Place this week. Alex Guerrero, Brady's guru that we've talked about at length, the guy who's been in trouble with his cancer water, with his concussion water and stuff like this, who is not a trainer. He's not a doctor. Well, he's a trainer. He's into the plyometrics things and all this stuff. And about half the Patriots go to him outside of Tom Brady. He has the TB12 places. There's a few of them around, the Boston area, which Celtics and Bruins and a lot of people are going to this alternative training style. But there's become an issue where just this week, or I guess a couple weeks ago, they revoked his sideline privileges, and they have said only Tom can be go for him at treatment on the facilities. That they want the other, because nobody really knows why. The story, a lot of it is that he's undermining the training staff. There's a whole staff of people, like their strength and conditioning trainer with the Patriots has been here since 2002. I think his track record is pretty great, but of course Brady says, I'm only playing this well at 40 because of him. I need him around. And it's one of those things. It's like Brady's he's right now like one of the 2-3 MVP candidates, and he's 40. And now, of course, because this came out, it's like, oh, well, he has a special doctor. It's like nobody at 40 gets better. And the national media is they're trying to say, oh, he must be on PEDs now and stuff like that.
This guy isn't like Pedro's Lucky Charm little person.
No, well, that's the whole thing. I mean, you think with PEDs and stuff like that, they're tested all the time, which, I was joking about this with the other day. The people at the NFL, there's people at the NFL whose job is to watch players pee like that. How do you post that skill on a LinkedIn profile? That's because they have to make sure that they're not tampering and stuff. With the scrutiny that the Patriots are on and Tom Brady's on, and the lack of goodwill between him and Goodell and stuff like that. If he was on anything but aspirin, you know what I mean? We know about it. But anyway, the point is, it's like, Brady's had some cryptic things, but, posts in the past couple of weeks. But today, Belichick, or this past week, Belichick was asked about it. It's like, hey, Tom Brady was asked about it. Neither one, of course, will comment on it.
Did you want to talk about, so for lock of last week, 31-14 Patriots.
And nobody went after Gronkowski, which that's the big thing, because he got the suspension 2 weeks ago for elbowing the guy in the back of the head who was already on the ground, complete douchebag move. And the Bills, and especially him, the guy's name is White, was like, the whole hood's after him. But Buffalo is in a playoff hunt. So if this was one of those games where the Bills were 4-12 and the Patriots were 11-3, yeah, Gronk is in bubble wrap up in the box with the Kraft family watching the game.
Do you want to talk about that controversial call at the end of the Pittsburgh game?
It's not a controversial call. It was the right call. It's a crappy rule.
Right. It's kind of like the tuck rule or something of that nature.
But that rule itself has been called 14 times this year. And it's no, if a running back fumbles the ball anywhere on the field,
yep,
and it goes out of bounds, you keep the ball. If a quarterback does a quarterback sneak and just breaks the plane with the end zone and has the ball knocked out of his hands, and the other team recovers, it's still a touchdown.
Because you've broken the plane and the ball is dead.
But if a receiver
is making a catch, there's a little component which is basically you have to complete the catch. You have to follow through the catch through completion.
Through to the ground.
Yeah. And right, you have to survive the ground.
And the thing is, was it a catch? Of course it was.
Yes.
Of course it was.
It was such a catch.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's like, and the fact that the Patriots were the benefit of this, the fact that it happened against the Steelers, who 2 years ago had the meltdown with the headphones not working at Gillette. the Steelers fans are convinced more than anybody that
Fix is in.
that the Pittsburgh Steelers have won 5 or 6 Super Bowls in this era if it wasn't for the Cheatriots.
Right. Well, quick question. So, regardless of whether, say the ball was not, say the catch was not in the end zone. Say it happened on the 5-yard line.
Right.
Is that an incomplete pass?
I think it's a catch.
So that's ruled a catch. You think that should be ruled a complete pass?
Well, the thing is, he boggled the ball as he hits the ground. So,
Right.
But he wasn't touched, but the thing is, because it happened there, he didn't, because the same thing happened.
What's confusing to me is I always thought that as soon as the ball crossed the plane,
right,
it was a dead ball. Like you cross the plane, the ball is over the white line, just like even by a hair. The ball is dead. If the ball is in control at that moment in time, it's ruled a catch. Not so.
No, and that was the Jets game earlier this year where the receiver catches it, and as he's diving for the pylon, it looks like he's throwing the ball from the left hand to the right hand so he can touch the pylon. But as it hits the pylon, it's for a millisecond, it's not in his hand. And as it hits the pylon and his body hits a pylon and they go out of bounds, if it was in one hand and it didn't move in his hand, that's a touchdown. But this is where it fucks you up really bad. This is where it really fucks you up, because the same thing happened in the game right after the Patriots game, the Sunday night game, between and this is why Dallas won. The Raiders are going to score, and the quarterback, does a sweep, and he's diving for the pylon, and he fumbles the ball as he's about to hit the pylon, and the ball bounces into the end zone and bounces out of the end zone. Now, if the ball had bounced out at the 1 foot line, what happens? Oakland keeps the ball, and it's a fumble. Because it fumbled out of the end zone, it's a touchback, and Dallas gets the ball at the 20.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So if you fumble it out of the end zone, it's a change of possession, and the other team gets it at 20. If he had fumbled it 1 foot before where he did, it's first and goal from the 1 foot line.
Yep.
But because, it fumbled it and the ball went forward and it went out of the end zone, they go from scoring the winning touchdown to Dallas getting the ball and taking a knee to end the game.
Wow.
So people are like upset about the rule, because it's a difficult rule, but it benefited the Patriots twice this season.
So this is, how many examples would you say of the rules where a catch is a catch, but there are all these
last few years,
right.
No.
Right, there are so many of these calls that just sort of pop up, and every year they have to reread these rules.
The same play happened 2 years ago. Dallas won a playoff game against the Lions on almost the same exact call, and it was a bullshit call. Megatron, their big receiver, came down with it, and then the Dallas Cowboys were beneficiary of it. I think that was Romo's only or one of only 2 playoff wins Romo had in his career. But then, just as being what it is, the next week Dallas lost on almost the exact same play. And if you look up the Dez Bryant catch, no catch, it's like your football eyes tell you that's a catch. Yeah. Like nobody sees that who's ever played, catch in the backyard with their dad at age 4 to, Bill Belichick looks at that and your eyes tell you it's a catch. And it's the same thing. I'm looking at that and I'm furious because I'm like, fuck, the Patriots, when they scored their touchdown, they left 56 seconds on the clock. And it's like, if they didn't score on the, they were first and 10 from the 12 and, Lewis runs it in for a touchdown. I'm like, damn it, get tackled on the 1, but you don't want to get cute there. But when they gave him 56 seconds and now they're reviewing the play, and it's like, oh God, there's 28 seconds left. The Patriots have 1 timeout, and but then cause they show you 2 or 3 things, and it's like, okay, are they wondering if he was down before, but when his knee and elbow hit the ground, nobody touched him. So I'm like,
he wasn't down by contact,
but he's not down. But here's the difference, and why the Patriots are the Patriots and the Steelers are the Steelers, and every other team is every other team. And I mean this. when that happened with the Jets game, instantly the cornerbacks start pointing to the ref that he boggled the ball as it hit the goal line. They knew the rule. When you look at you film or you go back, the Steelers coach, this is almost a 4.5 minute review. So obviously it's gone to New York where they're going to make the final call. He's watching the replay the whole time.
Yeah.
And if you're the Patriots, and I'm not saying this because I'm a hack and I love the Patriots, but we know enough about the Patriots. Within 10 seconds, they're going to be saying, okay, they're taking a real good look at this. If it's not a catch, it is second down. We're at the 2-yard line. We have one timeout. There's at this point 40 seconds, 30 some seconds left. All right, Tom, this is the play we're calling. If you get to the line and they're in this formation, audible to X or Y. If we run it and we don't make it in, the next play we're going to spike it, or the next play we're going to fake spike it and do this. The next play we're going to, or they're going to go to the line with 2 or 3 scenarios for that play because he got a 4-minute timeout to figure it out. And then just depending on what happens on that play, they're going to get right up into the next play. And the Patriots do this all the time where they're like, okay, they're going to punt it and everybody runs off the field. The punt unit comes on and then everybody runs off the field and Tom Brady runs back.
Yeah,
and
right.
you know, how many times have you seen them do that? Other teams were worried about. So then and so what ends up happening, the Steelers run the ball, which was stupid.
Did they run the ball? Was the first?
The first play was a run the ball after this.
Right, he burns the time on the clock.
Second down, which, okay, you're going to score and leave the Patriots no time. I get that. But then when they were stopped, now it's third down. You know what I mean? And now they have to burn their time out there. And then it's like they're going to do the fake spike type thing. Or at that point, they don't have the timeout. They're going to do this fake spike. But the only person who that knew it was going to be a fake spike is Ben Roethlisberger, who in the post-game thing picked up his offensive coordinator and threw him under the bus and said, oh, I want to fake spike, but they're telling me in the helmet, no, we're going to fake it, and I didn't want to. It's like, well, you're the one with the ball in your hand.
Yeah,
you know, okay, if they told you to throw it and the guy's triple covered, then maybe somebody in the 19th roll gets a souvenir for Christmas, you know. But of course, he tries to throw it. It gets intercepted. But that's the kind of thing. They got fucked by a bad play. They got fucked by a bad rule. But then they made a bad situation worse by not coming out of the timeout, knowing what they were going to do. The Patriots, and again, did the Patriots win the game? Did the Steelers lose the game? Because at the very least, if they don't get intercepted, Ben throws that ball away. Instead of forcing it, they kick it, they play for overtime. And that's what Ben says he wants to do. And even the coach was asked this week about, like, why didn't you do X, Y, and Z? It's like, well, we weren't sure what they were going to rule.
Well, you have to prepare for contingencies. Yeah.
You know,
there's only 2 ways it's going to be complete or incomplete. A touchdown or not a touchdown.
And if it's not a touchdown, it's second down from this thing. Go.
Where's your what's your plans?
What's your backup plan? And so, I mean, that's one of the things. It's like, you know, there was I think it was either the Wall Street Journal or like, it might have been GQ. It wasn't a football thing. Had a big article on Belichick a couple of years ago. And it wasn't a glowing piece about him. It was hey, this guy's fucked up. And they talked to all ex-players and current players. You'll be walking down the hallway. They just got you off waivers. You've been on the team less than 2 weeks. You're on the practice squad. And Belichick will stop you in the hallway and say, hey, if this person goes down in practice tomorrow and you're on the squad, who are you lined up against? You know, if you're a nose tackle, who's the guard you're going up against? And does he pull left or does he pull right? Where did he go to college? What are his tendencies? He gets hurt in the first play. Who's his backup on the team? And you are expected to know all of these things about teams, about their tendencies, about, you know, is a quarterback, you know, is a kicker. I mean, you know, the Patriots kicker is left-footed, and, you know, it's like a left-handed pitcher in baseball. It comes off your foot differently. The ball spins the opposite way of every other kicker in football, and that's a reason why a lot of people fumble punts from Allen on the Patriots. It's like, how many people study that? Like, do you, if you were Miami, the Jets, with the Dolphins, you're playing this guy twice a year. You have a rookie returner. Would you bring in on your practice squad a left-footed punter to practice with this guy doing that? Because that's something that fucking Belichick would do. And that's the kind of idiot savant, insane attention to detail that they do. So
Sorry, I got to take that call. What were you saying?
Hey, you're the one that said talk about this.
See, Biff, we talk about the Steelers.
Yeah. You're such a dick. But yeah, so the Patriots win. Nobody gets hurt. Pray. And now we got one game left against the Jets suck on New Year's Eve. So
It's Rockin' Eve, sir.
Yeah, exactly. You want to do?
Speaking of games, let's do the Christmas edition of the Random Video Game Review. We may be retiring this bit.
No, we're not.
Oh, darn. Maybe we're expanding it. Who knows?
Actually, I don't even know what I'm usually. I gotta look away. I was gonna for a second.
Right.
There was a Christmas theme.
No, I don't think there's a Christmas themed one that I can think of. So Jacques pulled a classic, I'm sure, off of the shelf.
Wait, is there a such thing as an Nintendo Entertainment System first generation game that isn't classic? Isn't it anything over 20 years is classic?
Yeah, right. It's an antique. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a classic. So let's see. It's somewhere in the I's. I'm gonna guess. Or maybe I could be in the J's. No, it's not Jack Nicklaus Golf. It is Jackal. No, it's not. I give up. Oh, I was thinking of this game and I couldn't spit it out. Iron Sword, and unfortunately, you can't see on this cover, but that is a Fabio on that cover.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's Fabio on the cover.
Oh man,
it's technically Wizards and Warriors 2 Iron Sword, and it looks like one of those Harlequin novel covers where Fabio graced many of which in the 80s and 90s. But he's looking ripped. This is a fun game. It's a little tedious at times, but it can be rewarding. You jump around as a knight, and it's a kind of a quirky platformer. You have to collect items, and you have to slay enemies with your sword, and you collect magic power-ups, and whatever. It's a fun game. It has a password system, so you don't have to spend 3 straight days beating it. You can come back to it at your
Mom turned the system off.
Right, exactly. She kicked the plug out by accident. It's a nice game, and I have it. And I've
very Conan on it.
Right, exactly. I think that's what they were going for. Not Conan O'Brien, Conan the Barbarian. That would be I would play the game where Conan's wielding a sword shirtless. Get on that, America. Get on that, nerds. So now we're going to go to the Ultimate NES Guidebook by Pat Contry that Jacques loves so much. His boyfriend. So, Iron Sword, Wizards and Warriors 2. This is written by somebody I'm not familiar with. In this sequel, 2.5 stars. In this sequel, the knight Kuros is once again tasked with defeating Malkil, who has returned in the form of the 4 major elements of wind, water, earth, and fire. Great band. To do so, however, he must reassemble the fragments of the shattered iron sword guarded by each elemental. Snoring.
All right, and what do you think it's going for on the interwebs?
I'll say $8.
Oh damn it! It was four. I just lost it. It was $4.89, but $3 for shipping.
There you go.
So you were right on the money.
Exactly, as I'm always. So that was fun.
So this wraps our Christmas episode. Thank you as always for listening. Thank you as always for sending us suggestions and sharing the podcast and tweeting about it and Instagramming about it. I don't know. Do we? No, I don't even know anybody who has Instagram.
I do.
Do you?
Yeah, a couple of friends on Facebook.
Is Snapchat still around?
Snapchat is big.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm old.
I know. We're old men. We're just playing with our NESs and other things.
But I hopefully Santa and or Hanukkah Harry was great to
those of you out there listening to us in podcast land. Do you have any last requests?
For you to continue to have a Merry Christmas.
As you, sir, and a Happy New Year. A happier 2018. It's got to get happier, right?
I have to.
It has to, right? Like mathematically, are we out of the playoffs? Like, is 2017 knock us out of contention until 2020?
Man, can I take a nap?
Please. Oh my God! And Merry Christmas, everybody. And Jacques, if you could do the honors.
Do not forget.
Everybody, and